This tape concerns itself with the family history of my great-grandfather, John J. Wrenchen. Hi, Gerald Choba here. And in my hand I have the 1880 John J. Wrenchen family picture. And my grandmother is the girl sitting in the lower right-hand corner next to John J. My grandma has the bright eyes and the ribbon in her hair. Let's see, John J. has 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 surviving grandchildren. And one of the grandchildren is my Aunt Agnes. And in the upper left-hand corner is Frank Wrenchen. Frank has 2 children surviving. That's Edith and Hubert. Edith is 94, as well as my Aunt Agnes, who is 94. And the only other surviving grandchildren of John J. Wrenchen belong to Mary Wrenchen in the very lower left-hand corner. The little girl sitting next to Aunt Barbara Kwasniewska. And there, Mary has 6 children surviving. Henrietta, Agnes, Martha, Helen, Ruth, and Roman. Roman is the youngest grandchild at 69, and Edith is the oldest one surviving at 94. My Aunt Agnes, is a resident of the local nursing home, and this summer, August 31st, I took Aunt Agnes out to visit her cousin, Ruth Wenzel. Now, both of these ladies confined to wheelchairs. Now, Aunt Agnes is 94, but she's really quite alert. And I taped their conversation that afternoon, that Sunday afternoon. And I'm going to try and re-record on this tape some of the things they got to talking about when they were talking about Aunt Rosie. Now, I don't know how clear it's going to come in, but I'll try it. 36 and 9, so you were like 44. You went to your father's funeral, yes you did. No, that's your great-grandfather. Oh. That's your great-grandfather. Well, finally, didn't you? Why'd you hold the fire? He's the slowest geek. This is quite an episode here. We'll wait till he comes back. Well, I received a letter from Matilda. Oh, how did they get back? Okay, fine. And they went on out to Fulda, Minnesota. Did I tell you it on the phone? No. But then afterwards, now I received another letter. And I received this letter from, would be their nephew, Christina. Is that's one of the family. You probably didn't know them, any of the children. But anyway, she's doing the family tree, and she wanted some information about Rosa. Oh. So what can I tell her? I wouldn't know much about that. Can you remember when Rosa used to come and visit here? No, you don't remember. I can remember her daughter, like Mrs. The children from Claire, and Edith Dukart, and these kids that was here right out there. I can remember when she was married. Right, and then there was Annie. I can remember when she was here, but Annie and Edith was here the last. And that was the time that I was already married, and they stayed at my house for 3 nights that time. Oh. And then the last of that family I seen. Oh. Well, see, that's Vietnam. You never knew that, like... No, them boys, I never really seen them boys because they never came home after I was grew up. But then, like Josephine and Mary and Anne and them 3 used to come to see my mother quite often. Oh, no. Of course, they're they're lots older than you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're older than Edith even.
Yeah, so they're going along with
Yeah.
Edith is the same age as I am, except that she was born in November, and I was born in January then, after that. Oh, you want to go by that?
I'd like to make a correction in that re-recording when I should have said Roger and Sharon Wondrow and not Christina. The quality of this conversation with Ruth and the re-recording isn't just the best, but I thought it's kind of fun to listen to Ruth. Now, when you listen to Ruth, you're hearing someone talk with a Bohemian twang, Bohemian brogue. Matilda, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Matilda over here.
Yeah, Matilda.
Because I asked her if one of the members of her husband was, I didn't know. I asked her husband, and she wouldn't tell me no problem. And then I was wondering.
Well, I don't think that she would be not to avoid saying time, but her husband.
Roman told me that he passed away just like my dad. He just said like he was full and died by the table. My dad died too. And that's where Matilda's husband, she told Roman, and Roman told me about it.
Well, Matilda's husband died before her father died. And this Geist, Henry Geist, he was in 98. He only died a couple years ago.
I know when he died, Agnes sent me, and he died, and she also sent me a prayer card.
So he hasn't had realization.
It's just 2 years ago I did this for me. Agnes used to write to me. But then 2 years ago she quit and I didn't know why. I said to Matilda said that she had a stroke and I didn't know it. And it was like funny, Matilda, I thought I didn't take over after her, but then I did.
Ruth, I got a letter from her Matilda sent me a picture of her sisters and brothers, a family picture. And I don't have that with me because I gave it to Edith. She was looking at it, reading it. Otherwise, you could have looked at that. Because you haven't seen Agnes for so long, you wouldn't recognize her anyway. No, I just got it last week, I guess. Yeah. I just got to look at it. I just dropped it and put it in the envelope and everything. She likes to look at all that stuff. I'm sick. She told me she wasn't going to teach anymore. She's going to get married. And Grandpa died. Grandpa John died that summer. But then Grandma says, you waited so long to get married, Agnes. You get married now. She was 44 already. But you know, it was really close after Grandpa died that she got married.
I know that she was older when she got married. Well, I wasn't no chick when I got married either. I was 27.
You were home, stayed home all that time.
You bet your life I did. I stayed home all that time. And then when I got married, it wasn't my wedding day. My dad cried all day. He didn't tell me to let me get married. He didn't want to let me go. And my brothers felt the same way. They thought it was awful that I was leaving.
They didn't like the guy you were marrying?
They didn't want me to leave home. They thought I should stay home and take care of them. And my mother says no. My mother says that she wants to get married, never get married. She said the rest of the girls got married, why can't she? How old is the groom? Well, he said 1 year younger than I. I didn't know that. And when we was married 25 years, you're never going to believe this. It was like 25 years, we had 6 grandkids. If you don't believe it, take a look at it. Is it connected now?
No, we're connected now. What is it? It's February 2nd, isn't it? Groundhog Day on a Sunday afternoon. And this is Gerald.
The groundhog didn't see a shadow today.
No, he didn't. Did he? It was really foggy.
He went back down.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
When I take this picture of the 4 sisters Can you tell me, Edith, when is the first time you can remember seeing Aunt Rosie?
Well, out in Florida. When we went there, I was about 5 years old.
So that you were born in 91. So that would have been like 1896 or 97.
On July the 4th, we went there to spend the holiday with them. And she was just a lovely person.
Now, do you think, I've often wondered, this picture with the 6 Wrenchen sisters on there, I've often wondered when that picture was taken. There had to be some special event to get those girls together. There must have been like a wedding, to have Aunt Rosie here. She,
Because she was never, she didn't live here.
No,
She lived in various places in the United States, especially the West.
Yeah, but so in 1896 or 1897, it was you and your father went to
visit them in
Fulda.
No. In '96 we went to Fulda, yes.
Yeah.
But then when I was about 9 or 10, we went to Wisconsin to see them at Boyd, Wisconsin. And I thought, oh my, they had a house full of all young ladies. Nobody had much work to do because there were so many people to do the work. And Aunt Rosie she was the mother. But she was always so kind. Anyway.
Well, I was looking for some notes I had here, but I don't see the notes I have here. But your father was farming then.
Oh yes.
So somebody had to do the chores.
Well, my mother was there, and then I suppose my cousin came over.
Well, your mother didn't go to Fulda.
Oh, mother went to Fulda. Yes, we all went there, but evidently my cousin Albert Handel must have done some work there. No, hardly. I don't really know who.
Well, you were pretty small then.
Yeah, no. I don't remember who.
But you took the train.
I thought you were asking me about the second time when we went to...
But this is when you went to...
We went to Fulda on the train. And they picked us up at a little place, something like Pratt, with a big wagon. Had 2 seats. And we went to their home, which was 8 miles south of this little town of Fulda. And they had just moved into their new home. They had built a new home.
Oh, really?
That is still standing there now from a report from
Matilda and Ray and Tony when they went there.
Because she said she walked the floors that her mother...
And they think that...
Yeah. So...
and that's when you went to that church?
Yeah, that's when we went to that church, and they had that little lake in front of it, and the lake is still there. They say.
Well, remember that I was saying that I met some people at our square dance and she is from Fulda, and I was saying, the Catholic Church, does it have a lake out in front? Well, sure, she said.
See? So I was right on.
So you're right on.
I remember, and I asked Father Jim when he used to go out there when he was superintendent of the schools, the Catholic schools, And I said, is that little lake still there? He said, sure is. Well,
that's almost, it's getting close to 90 years ago.
That's right.
That is a long time to remember, isn't it?
That's right.
It surely is.
And then, of course, the second time when I visited them, they were in Wisconsin then.
This was in Boyd, wasn't it?
Yeah. And why they went to Boyd, I don't know. Unless there would be some Germans there or something, I don't know. But they lived there quite a few years in Boyd.
Uh-huh. Well, I know one thing. They were living in Boyd when your grandfather died.
You mean Grandpa Renson?
John Jay. When John Jay died.
Why, how do you know that?
Well, I haven't been up to see you since I got this.
Oh,
And right here,
you're keeping something from me.
here, you know, like here, I went to the courthouse
Yeah?
and got his probate.
Yeah, you told me that.
I told you over the phone.
Yeah.
I told you over the phone. So here is his last will and testament of John Renson. And then here is the probate. Now I only got just a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Edith, can you imagine all the stuff they must have stored of all the people that have died in this county and had their wills probated? How much space that must take? Because it was like a box full of stuff. And I just took this much stuff out. Now here, this is 1905, and this is the matter to the probate court. And here it lists all the survivors. And it lists Rosa Rumert. Now they spell it here, R-O-M, but apparently that's wrong.
Uh-huh.
And she was age 41.
Then.
Yeah, and her address is Boyd, Wisconsin.
Oh.
So so right there we know.
Oh, you know when they went to Boyd.
Well, they were in Boyd at that time.
At Grandpa's funeral.
Yeah, at that time anyway. So.
You see, I don't remember that. That was in 1905.
1905.
I don't know. I don't remember that funeral at all.
You know, I was thinking, do you think that picture there could have been taken at that time? This picture of the 6 girls? Very well could be. You know, that they would be about that age. That would put my grandma at 35. Grandma's in the upper left-hand corner there.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to, or else it could have been a wedding, that Rosa came back for a wedding. And if I keep looking, no.
There isn't anybody that we can check on this.
Not really. I don't, because, Mary was the last one married, I believe.
She was married in 95.
Yeah, and so she's older than that, I would think. You know, it probably was like when the girls came home for a funeral. That's when the picture was taken.
I bet it was too.
I'll bet it was.
But your grandma, it was different. She had a foxy blouse on.
Well,
she just wanted something a little dashing.
Yeah, she
the
was.
The rest of them are all in dark.
Uh-huh. She was more fun, wasn't she?
Oh, she was. She was a great lady. She could make the best cornbread.
You remember her for the cornbread?
Oh, my.
Well, she was a wonderful cook, too.
Oh, yes, she was.
Well, incidentally, on this probate.
Yeah, okay.
Probate. Remember, I was having all that problem with Barbara Thomas, survivor.
Yeah.
That's where they got her listed here as survivor. Barbara Thomas, daughter, age 48. John S. Renson, son. Rosa Ramert, daughter. Frank J. Renson, son. Agnes Shoba, daughter. Anna Casper, daughter. Katrina B. Renson, daughter. Mary Renson, daughter. Now here's the interesting part. Vincent Wenzel Jr., grandson, age 23, address, Gladstone, North Dakota.
Is that so?
And here's another survivor. Ferdinand Wenzel, age 21, grandson, Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. And Anna Wenzel Pockert, granddaughter, Gladstone, North Dakota. And Vincent Wenzel Sr., the son-in-law, Blooming Prairie, Minnesota.
Oh, he was living in
So, yeah, if I would have never known, here's where we could have found it out, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if some of those Wenzels over there in Blooming Prairie, see this Ferdinand Wenzel? He has his address at Blooming Prairie, and the same with old Vince. He's got.
You haven't gone into that yet.
No, I haven't.
Well, that would be something. How old was my father there?
Your father lists him at 40.
He was 40 years old then.
Mm-hmm. And it checks out for him being born 1865.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So that is correct, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who was the oldest daughter?
The oldest daughter, they listed Barbara.
Barbara?
And of course,
That's this one.
Uh-huh.
And then, she was how old?
It is Barbara at 48.
48?
Uh-huh.
And who was in between Barbara and my father?
Well, of course, it would have been Frances, but she's dead.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, between your father is Rosa and John S. Yeah, between...
I know, but, Rosa. That's Aunt Rosie. That's there.
There's Aunt Rosie right there. Mm-hmm. And of course, John is older than your
She
father.
must be younger than John.
She's younger.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the thing. We don't know where Rosa was born because I haven't found it on the ship's passenger list. Some say that they had a little baby when they came over here. And if they had a little baby, that had to be Rosa, born in Czechoslovakia. But there's no birth record of her in being born in Steele County.
Is there a birth record of Barbara?
No.
Well, she was the one she's the oldest, isn't she?
So when we read here, some places it says they had 3 children when they came over, and some places it says 4.
Well, my father always talked about 3.
3. So maybe Rosa was born in Somerset.
And then
But if she was born in Somerset, he did not homestead until October 10th, 1863. And I don't know how that would work out for her to say, where she was born. Why it wasn't recorded in the courthouse, I don't know. And another thing, did I tell you that I looked up in the courthouse trying to find Rosa's wedding or marriage?
Marriage.
No, nothing there. There's nothing there.
There's nothing in the Sacred Heart account of that either.
Oh, you looked there. You mean you had those records in?
Yeah. You want to pull that drawer out over there under yeah.
I was wondering now, like this Bohemian National Cemetery. My grandma says that her father, John J. Renchen, was one of those that helped organize the cemetery, the Bohemian Cemetery. And I can remember Grandma saying that they wanted to have a place to bury their people.
Yeah.
So that maybe was originally for Catholics, the Bohemian National Cemetery, because if there was no Catholic parish here, you said it was organized in 76.
1876.
And we had our first burial out there at the Bohemian Cemetery in 1867.
There you are.
Because Grandma says that just shortly after they had this cemetery, Bohemian National Cemetery organized, and they had a burial. But then they must have had like a traveling priest, or do you suppose one of the...
You mean for Sacred Heart?
No, this is before Sacred Heart.
Oh.
You know?
Well, they all
Because my grandma was born before they had a Catholic church.
Well, sure.
So where were those people baptized?
Well, they came down from St. Paul and they met in the homes. See?
They must have.
And that's the way they took care of their baptisms and their marriages and their funerals.
They really didn't have any meeting place, did they?
No.
Well, here they got baptism, Sacred Heart Church, 1870.
Well, it goes back to 1870.
Yeah.
Well, evidently they must have taken, because this wasn't that a job to copy all those names? But they worked on it about 2 years on that celebration, you know, when...
Not unless Aunt Katie could have taken the kids over to St. Joe's or one of the other Catholic churches.
Well, of course, you see, I don't know how old St. Joe's is, but it isn't as old as Sacred Heart.
No, but I mean, you see this, like, that was only the turn of the century, like my father was...
Yeah, that's right, too.
You know, that's quite a bit later.
In what year were your grandparents married?
My grandparents were married in 1888.
1888.
And Aunt Jane was born in 1889.
Uh-huh.
And they were married, like that's recorded in the courthouse. They were married by the Justice of the Peace.
Oh.
And remember who I said stood up?
Uh-huh, my father.
Your father, Frank, and Bessie Shoba from the other side.
Bessie Shoba.
And Grandma says that they went home. They were married, it must have been like in the wintertime. They went home in a lumber wagon, and there was no honeymoon in those days.
Well, of course there wasn't. It was, if a young man had a farm, he was really something.
Sure.
You know, and like your grandpa.
He had a farm.
He had a business.
Mm-hmm. He came down in 1887 and settled on bought the farm then.
And that's where, well, what kind of a house did they have there then?
The original house is there yet. It was built in 1865. The original house, and that same house is there yet. We built,
built onto it.
Built additions on it. But if you crawl up in the attic, there you can see the original construction of the old shingles and things that are in there yet.
Well, for heaven's sake, that's really an oldie.
Yeah, that's an old house, isn't it?
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. So where your Aunt Agnes's children were baptized, that's still a mystery to us, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I didn't know they were. See, when you told me that, I was almost shocked.
Oh.
To think that, but it's a possibility.
Well, knowing Aunt Katie.
Knowing Aunt Katie.
You know they were baptized.
Yeah. Now, do you remember her?
Well, sure. Well, when I say sure, yes, I do remember her. I do remember her. I remember her. But you see, she died in 1930,
33 or something?
No, 31.
Oh dear, I wish I could remember all those things.
I can't.
I think you've done just wonderful.
Wow. Aunt Katie, 1931.
31.
1931. See, I was 4.
She was a great lady, though, but she wanted to control everybody's families.
Oh.
And they all kind of took it, too.
Uh-huh.
You know.
And, in this, to get back to great-grandpa's will, she already had the house in her name. He did no longer own the house in 1905.
You mean when he died?
When he died, the house belonged to Aunt Katie.
Now, listen, how could that be? Who would have done that? I bet it was Uncle Frank Hesper.
No, I don't think so. I think he had already given her the house. He did not own the house. But,
I wonder why he did that.
well, I suppose he was contemplating death. I don't know. But she was there taking care of both of them.
Yeah.
But you remember when we drove up there, were we talking that he owned the land all the way over to
Oak Street.
Oak Street, and I went and I got all that stuff and it explained.
have you?
Yeah, and you remember in the obituary it says that he was a hotel keeper.
I know, and that I never knew.
And so I had to go through a lot of records, but they're all there in the courthouse. And so he owned the hotel, the Arnold Hotel, but he only bought that. He bought the Arnold Hotel, come here. He bought it for $3,500, and he sold that land where James Casper lives, at 40 acres. He sold it for $6,000. Anyway, he sold land for $6,000. And
now, what land is that?
it's south of the home farm there, almost part on that. Do you know where Jim Casper lives?
Yeah, near Ellendale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was called the what county is that? No, what township is that?
That is in Somerset?
No, it isn't Somerset.
Berlin?
No.
Berlin would have to be Blooming Prairie.
Well, we always called it by the name.
Well, he bought that hotel for $3,500. He bought it from Louie and Amelia Meixner. And so I look it up, and he traded this northwest quarter of the northeast quarter, and all the description, and section 30. Oh, and Summit, yeah.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 120 acres. That's 120 acres he had. He got $6,000, and only 40 acres of that is what Jim Casper has. You see, Jim Casper never got it from Laurentian. It was sold to someone. It was sold to this Meixner, see, and so Jim Casper bought it later on.
Well, I remember going up there. My father took care of the farm for Grandpa, and before Grandpa died.
Oh.
And the last trip I made up there when I was 9 years old. And we went up to sack the grain that was Grandpa Wrench's share.
Oh, on this farm where Jim Casper has that 40.
Where Jim Casper now lives.
Oh, yeah.
And they lived in a little log house. And they had the mumps.
Oh, really?
And we went in there and visited and had something to eat or whatever. And we all got the mumps.
Is that right?
Oh, dear.
So, now you went there to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
To visit
The Raymerts.
the Raymerts.
And how they got to California, they went out to pick fruit.
Uncle Fred.
He didn't work. He just found the jobs and they had to work.
Mm-hmm.
He was lazy.
Well, when you went to visit them in Boyd, you stopped in Chippewa Falls.
Yeah.
On the way to visit. You went to visit Josephine.
Yeah. Well, we went there. Yeah, I suppose. We went there, and then from there we went to Boyd. Just they weren't very far apart, something like Blooming Prairie and Owatonna or something like that.
So I guess the folks up there now, they live in that very same area like Wondrose and Tony and Ray and Matilda.
Well, that Cornell, it can't be very far.
Yeah, they all live.
They're all in that same area.
So you can remember going into Boyd and seeing Aunt Rosie.
Yeah, and that's where I got to kind of close to Catherine.
Catherine. Oh,
Yeah,
so she was really just your age.
yeah, she was.
Yeah, a little.
Edith is older than I am.
Edith was a little bit older than you are.
And then, of course, she was married, and I guess the folks didn't like who she married, so they ran away.
Oh, yeah.
And they went out west. And I don't know what happened to him out there, that he...
Well, she married that, Schultz, was it?
Schultz, that's it.
Schultz.
And I don't know where they lived, but anyway, that's where he died. And then she had that little boy to support. They had a son. But he's dead now too, it says.
Milford. Yeah.
And the way she raised him she went and she was a cook in these different kind of camps. The lumber camps.
You mean after Schultz died?
Yeah.
But then she remarried?
Well, then he died. Then she married this, whatever his name is.
Thorson, wasn't it?
Thorson. There you are. He was a funny jigger. Oh dear. He always wore her cap with her shirt, but he always had it turned.
Oh, really?
They ran a chicken farm there in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Oh. No.
When we were there in '49, we were treated royally though, only we couldn't go near the chickens.
Oh, really?
Because the chickens were so hyper.
Oh.
And if they see anybody strange, they would just fly all over and they were
oh, really?
Oh, they were bad.
Oh.
But oh my. And we stayed there about 2 or 3 days, I think.
Now, would that be the last time that you saw Catherine?
That's the last time I saw Catherine. But we always kept in touch by letters.
Oh, really?
Your
first cousin.
And then he died, this Thorson died, and then she married Brown. And Brown is the one that had the money. He raised Appaloosa horses. You know what an Appaloosa is?
Yeah,
they're spotted. They're spotted.
Yeah.
And when do they have the horse races in Kentucky?
Well, I suppose in the summertime.
Summertime, well, they always went every summer. Every time. And it's one time that they were there, they went down to Alabama and they looked up that, her mother's grave.
Oh, yeah.
But you see, I didn't see this Brown. I don't know.
Oh, you never met him?
No.
Never met him.
Because he
just corresponded. That would have been fun if you could have got together once more, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. But,
it really would have.
But he was well-to-do. He had lots of money. So they traveled a lot. And you know, they used to go down and spend nice long vacations with Edith in California. Where is it?
Well, now.
Modesto.
Yeah, Modesto. So, in '49, this was your trip that you...
We went west. We were gone 5 weeks.
This is just before Father Jim was ordained, wasn't it?
That was the year before? Or, no, it was yeah, it must have been, because he was ordained in 51.
Oh,
2 years. Ordained in 51, so.
And you stopped there, and then you went down to Modesto.
Joe bought a car.
Oh.
Because that was after the war, see, and he saved his money. He said, I didn't go gambling like a lot of them did. He saved his pennies.
Uh-huh.
And so he went to the Minnesota School of Business. And while he was there, he bought the car.
Oh, yeah.
And we went, we were gone 5 weeks. What a wonderful trip.
Already, Edith Ducart was a widow, wasn't she? Her husband died in...
And this
Yeah.
Madeline was married, and see, I never saw her.
Yeah, I guess you never saw Madeline, did you?
No, because they were living in south of San Francisco. Her husband was a manager of Sears, a big Sears store there.
Uh-huh.
And now he's dead too.
He's gone now, too. Well, he died,
When?
Madeline Herman, he died in 73.
Oh, well, you see, this was in 49.
Mm-hmm.
And she had those 2 girls. And you see, I didn't see the other girl either. She was dead by that time. But the boys,
Evelyn,
Evelyn,
yeah.
they had 3 boys. Arthur was the youngest, and then there was Clarence and
Carl.
Carl.
Oh, yeah.
But they were both married.
Mm-hmm.
And Arthur was just through, he was going away to school
Well,
somewhere.
he was born in 1930, Arthur.
1930.
Yeah, so he would only been like 19 then.
Oh, he was young.
Mm-hmm.
He was young. You see, Jean she was born in 28.
So Jean just 2 years older than.
Oh, he liked Jean. He thought she was a lot of fun.
Oh,
He wrote to her a lot after we got home.
Oh, really?
And everything, but finally. But he lives in San Jose now.
oh.
Arthur does.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, why doesn't Madeline write?
Well, you got a Christmas card, didn't you?
Yeah, but about 4 lines on it.
She's working in her daughter's store. No. She's helping in one of her
She
daughter's...
tells you more than she...
Yeah, I've got a letter here. We get all...
Oh, she works in a store once in a while?
Well, she helps her daughter, I understand. Daughter-in-law in a store. She formerly worked in the library.
Yeah, I guess she was a librarian.
Yeah.
Trained librarian.
Oh. And now she's like, if it's an antique store or what, I'm not real sure. But Matilda, was it 2 years ago, had been out there visiting her.
Yeah, I know, but you see, I'd like to talk to Matilda a little bit about that, but you see, there was so much talking.
Yeah, we had so much going on.
We couldn't get it all
hardly keep
together.
up with what was going on. Yeah. But, getting back to Rosa again. So you saw Rosa when you went to visit them in Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
You stopped at Chippewa Falls.
Mm-hmm. I was about 9 years old then.
So that, you see, 9 years, so that was about like, probably was about 1900.
Yeah, along in there.
And then, can you remember the next time you saw Rosa?
Well, then when I saw her, and they came to the farm out here in War I.
But that would be 17 years later.
Yeah.
You don't, do you remember when your great-grandpa was buried? Like at the funeral? Probably, could you remember?
You mean Renchen?
Yeah, John J.
Well, that was in November.
No, that was in August. He died in August. Or September, maybe. Oh. Oh, yeah.
I thought that prayer card said that she...
No, and no, that prayer card, that was Grandma's. He died...
Oh, what was your question?
John, your great-grandpa died in August.
Yeah.
The last week of August.
Some 5 months or something.
But do you have any recollection of that funeral?
And I don't think I came home to Grandma. I was teaching in Fairfax then.
I see.
And you know, Fairfax, I had to go to the city and then come down, and the folks thought, well, you know, you can't, it's kind of hard, so.
There's nothing you could do anyway then.
No, there's nothing I could do about it, no.
But remember, my Aunt Julia was living in town here then. Remember, Aunt Julia used to go up and get milk from Aunt Katie, from John, from...
You mean, when they were living over here in this house?
That's right, that's what Aunt Julia told me, that's where she got her milk. She would go up there and get her milk from Aunt Katie.
Well, that must have been about 1.5 miles that she had to walk.
Well, it was quite a walk, wasn't it? But I can, you know, this is probably when I would talk to Aunt Julia, wondering if she knew my great-grandpa. Why, she said, of course I knew him. And apparently they were really good friends.
Yes. Aunt Julia she was a good visitor.
Yeah, oh, you bet she was.
Yeah.
And what I remember Aunt Julia saying, he would say, "Say, lady, you coming to my funeral?" Just joking, you know. Just teasing her. He liked to tease her a lot. And I said, well, did you go to his funeral, Aunt Julia? Why, I surely did.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
I'm sure she did. Now, she told me something, apparently, do you think the sermon probably was in Bohemian? I'm sure it was, wasn't it? It probably.
What year was that?
1905.
1905. Well, that's found when Father Peter was here.
Yeah, I imagine it was. But Aunt Julia was telling me some of the things that they said in the sermon, and she was wondering about them. And that's why, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a recording back from 1905 and could listen to that with the things that, you know, what they said about him and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, but she was saying that the priest said that man is born in sin, and what else? How did she say that man would be better off if he was not born at all when he's born into sin? Aunt Julia was telling me about the sermon.
Your Aunt Julia.
Aunt Julia was telling that she could remember that sermon.
That kind of didn't set very well with her, maybe.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That it said she could remember.
That's why she remembered it.
Probably. It must have struck her a
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember going to his funeral?
I don't remember him. Well, I remember him not so much where he lived on South Cedar. I remember how he came to our house with his Jenny.
Yeah.
And on his way to visit with his daughter Mary. He always came to our house and had his lunch, and then away he went.
Do you know Edith?
Yeah.
Now we're looking at that picture there of Grandpa on his cart.
Yeah.
Driving Jenny.
That's what he came from.
And this is the farm. This is where Farmer Roman lives.
Yeah.
And we've got pictures taken right in that same spot where Grandpa was.
That's right.
And back here in the cart, there's Frank Lynchen is driving the team, is seated beside his mother Catherine.
Yeah.
And Aunt Katie and Aunt Mary are in the rear seat.
They're in the back.
But I'll never forget when I first showed you that picture at Joe Renchen's 60th wedding anniversary. And and you looked at that picture and you says, my, where did you get that picture? I said, that's Jenny. What's Jenny there? Here's Jenny.
She was a red, she wasn't black or white, or she was red.
Okay, now record.
Why don't we have volume?
Because you're not,
Someone, and in those days, the roads were bad, and especially when it was raining. they'd have to drive in the mud, you know, and this poor horse was just wringing wet.
He pushed Jenny hard.
Yeah. You know how to run the thing? Yeah.
This,
What are those pictures?
Well, they're Jerry and
the next time you saw Aunt Rosie was on the farm when you were teaching. You know, in 1917, and you came home.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get to talk about that. We haven't talked about that.
Well, we just started it when she came.
Oh.
You know.
you should have called me and said you had visitors.
Visitor.
Say, why don't you, you've better write on the back of this.
Okay.
It was Roman.
But this was in 1917 during the war, wasn't it? Was the World War I going on then?
Sure.
I was teaching in
Fairfax? Where were you teaching when you couldn't finish up your German year? Your German class? Was that Fairfax?
No, that was in North Dakota. That was at Annetta.
And then you came back to Minnesota? Because you always said that they wouldn't let you
Annetta
teach.
was the first public school that I taught.
Then you came back to Fairfax?
I wasn't in Fairfax before.
Well, you went back for the class of 1919 reunion. Maybe you weren't their senior teacher. Where did you teach first? In Adrian? Adrian, and then where?
Sleepy Eye.
And then Fairfax?
No.
No?
Then Annetta.
Annetta, then you came back to Fairfax.
Then I went from Annetta to Fairfax.
And where didn't they let you teach German?
In Annetta.
In Annetta. That was during World War I.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what.
See, and they made her teach social studies.
Oh, they didn't want people to
Didn't want
learn.
anybody learning German.
Oh, really?
Because the Kaiser was...
Oh, Kaiser Bill.
Yeah.
But then they closed the school because of the flu.
That was in Fairfax.
In Fairfax.
And so...
That's when I was home, when Aunt Rosie and Uncle Fred came.
Were they there when you came home, or did they?
No, I don't remember that part of it. But they were there when I was home for about a week. They closed the school for about a week.
Because of the flu.
Uh-huh. Well, it was so bad. That was in 1918.
Oh, 1918. Okay.
And then you stayed in Fairfax 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay, because see, I took her back for the class of 1919's 50th reunion.
Oh, really?
In 1969.
How were they able to?
Well, they evidently, she always you wrote to somebody. Didn't you correspond with somebody from Fairfax? Because they knew where she was.
Yeah, Dr. Brown, Alpha.
Oh.
They're both gone now.
I don't know. I asked this Spindler, Walter.
Yeah.
He taught there, you know.
Yeah.
And I saw him one time, and I asked him if the Browns are still living. Gosh, he says, I don't know. I didn't pay much attention. They're old people, he says, aren't they?
And you said anybody you know is old. But anyway, we met at just kind of like a truck stop. They had a bag for the reunion.
Oh.
That would have been
50 years.
Yeah, their 50-year reunion.
Yeah, well, we should have been,
they
the class
had-
probably wasn't that large.
Oh, no.
Just
There,
a little place.
there were probably, I don't know, like 15 classmates?
I thought it was a dumb place to have.
Anyway, one of them had a bottle of whiskey.
Oh,
So we ordered like 7-Up or Coke or something, and then they just passed the bottle along. and and one woman was so funny. Of course, they all called her Miss Wrenchin, because of course that's the name that. And she says, "Oh, and I thank you, Miss Wrenchin. You instilled in me an undying love of poetry." And she I just got the biggest kick out of that.
I know you like
So
it.
that was in '69, like in June.
mm-hmm.
They invited her back for their 50th. Now I wonder if they've had any since.
They could have had a couple more, couldn't they?
Yeah,
If there's anyone left.
if there's anyone left.
Well, they're all older.
Well, sure, because you were probably 25 or so, and
Yeah.
these kids were probably 18, 19 years old.
Yeah. But,
I taught there 2 years.
but then when you came back, and that's where you got really well acquainted with Aunt Rosie and Uncle Fred, didn't you? When they were,
Well, the war was on then.
Yeah, but they were there, you were home a week because of the flu.
and then you got acquainted with real well.
Well, yes, of course they were, but then I wasn't there that long. But Mother talked about it, how wonderful it was, because Aunt Rosie did the cooking, and Uncle Fred did the cleaning,
Oh, well,
and my folks were shredding corn.
they were shredding corn. and Rosie and Uncle Fred did
They kept house.
they kept the house.
And we had rugs that spread in over the carpeting, and Uncle Fred's job was to pick up those rugs every morning and shake them out and put them back on. Yeah. So he always took care of all the rugs that were laid around.
Oh, so you remember that real well
And
about it.
Rosie did everything. She even baked bread.
Oh, now, wasn't this the time that Uncle Fred didn't want folks to know?
That's right. He was hiding.
The-
Something about that he refused to buy Liberty bonds or something. It was Liberty bond deal. And he didn't want anybody to know that he was there. They didn't go anyplace.
Were they required to buy them?
Well, it was something about Liberty bonds.
Well-
Maybe he, who knows what he said.
They could have been. Or,
They were
such a
after
thing
him.
as draft dodgers and.
Oh, yeah. These are nice pictures, Jerry. Well, for God's sake. So you're just having a big time here.
When Uncle Fred and Aunt Rosie left, you really don't know where they...
I don't know, but where they
Where they went to.
how they got way down to Alabama. You know why he wanted a nice boring place where there were a lot of Germans.
Oh.
German territory, that's what he was interested in.
Do you think that that's probably the last time you saw Aunt Rosie?
Oh, yes.
That's the last time when they were shredding corn at your place.
That was in 1918.
That's the last time you saw Aunt Rosie and Uncle Fred.
And then when they went to Alabama, I don't know, and I wonder when did she die? Do you have a record
Sure.
of that?
Well, she died in.
I don't see how he keeps all this.
No, I need a record keeper. She died in August 9th, 1932.
Well, you see, that's
I
right.
could have looked at some other place here too.
No.
But of all the children, you probably knew Edith the best. Edith Ducart. Edith Raymert?
Well, of course, Edith and Catherine.
Uh-huh. But didn't Edith live here in Owatonna for a while?
Oh, she worked here for people. Did housework.
No. When do you think that was?
Do you know the errands at Pratt?
Well, I know the name.
She worked there as a housemaid.
Oh, she did.
Oh, and they liked her.
Now, what year do you think that was?
Well, that was before 1918.
Yeah, but do you think that was before your grandpa died? Or no, that would have been after your grandpa died. She was older than that then.
Oh, no, that was...
Were you in school then, or where were you?
I must have been in school, see? Because, well, I went to boarding school here at St. Mary's when they had a boarding school there. See, that school was torn down next to Sacred Heart.
Oh.
You remember that school?
Not really.
You don't?
Not really.
Well, I did my 8th grade work there, and...
You mean the old St. Mary's?
Yeah.
You read the street.
Oh, I guess I do, yeah.
Sure, with the big porch on.
I guess I do.
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Well, I turned on the porch light. Whose is that?
That's
yours?
Jerry's.
That's Jerry's, okay.
Oh. Well, now what is it we were talking about?
We were talking about Edith Ducard.
Oh!
And like what year do you think she was working here for errands? She must have not wanted to travel anymore with her.
Says your mom tired of moving with the family and settled in Owatonna? Is that when she worked there?
What's that?
It says, well, this is
That's
cousin Madeline. Is that Edith Ducard's daughter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is it? Read that again.
Well, Jerry wrote this to her. It says, your mom tired of moving with the family, settled in Owatonna. And Agnes Shoba, and Edith became pals with your mom at that time. Edith could show you the home where your mom worked when she worked for the errands.
Well, it's Brett Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, at the same time, Edith, my Aunt Agnes Arp got really well acquainted with Edith Ducard too.
Well, I imagine so.
Because she visited out there too in Modesto.
I tell you, she used to come to our house on her day off.
On your house in the farm?
On a house on the farm.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
When she was at errands.
I see.
And now how long she was working here, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they liked her so because she was such a good worker and a good cook.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny the black sheep probably came as close as we can get. See, he's in a rest home in Faribault.
I visited him.
Did you?
Yeah, but he really couldn't give me any information.
How is he?
Not really too good. He's complaining.
Complaining.
Yeah, you wouldn't recognize him, you know.
Really?
Or if you haven't seen him, you know, he's...
See, he was working as a dishwasher at Boulder, Colorado, when we were in service out in Denver.
Oh.
And Paul's Uncle Frank Matthews and Johnnie Wrenchin used to pal around together. And Uncle Frank came through Denver and stayed with us a couple nights, and we drove Frank up to Boulder to see Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
And that Johnnie Wrenchin, but Sandy Wrenchin, Blaha, works at OTC with me, and every once in a while she'll say...
Sandy is John's daughter? No.
John's granddaughter.
Oh, granddaughter. Who's her father?
She belongs to one of these...
Stanley?
Yeah, Stanley.
Oh.
She's Stanley's daughter.
Stanley is our second cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley went in the service the very same day I did.
Oh, really?
We were inducted together. But I haven't seen him for ages.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, what...
But anyway, she'll say once in a while, well, we went to visit Grandpa yesterday, but he didn't know us or something.
Oh. No, of course Johnny wouldn't have known me.
No.
But I show him pictures where that he knew whoever the people were in the pictures, you know, like I show pictures.
Yeah.
Where he says Agnes, you know.
Yeah.
But he didn't really know me, except I said I'm Henry's son, and of course he knew Henry.
Well, sure.
Because Henry was going to punch him in the nose once.
I think Johnnie probably needed.
Johnnie got into problems with Stanley because Johnnie was always coming over to Stanley's house, and he lived back of Earl Marion's there.
Yeah.
Kind of whatever.
That
cul-de-sac there.
Yeah.
And Stanley showed him the door and told him never to darken the door again.
Well, wasn't he horsing?
He was horsing around with his...
He wanted to horse around with Stanley's wife.
Yeah, he was always touching
the daughter-in-law.
He was always touching her and all that.
So that's why I said... And see, Johnny's the one that went out to Modesto and worked as a handyman.
At Edith's?
At Edith Ducart.
Oh.
And lived there one whole winter.
Yeah, and this is what the daughter.
And Edith would do that because she was kind. That's the way Aunt Rosie was too.
Mm-hmm.
Such a kind person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were. Uncle Fred again was different.
Well, it says here that Jerry wrote in this that Uncle Fred was very pro-German.
Oh.
That's probably why he didn't want anybody to know he was here.
Oh, because I suppose he talked so against our government.
Yeah.
Because he thought the Kaiser was just so perfect.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a letter that you wrote to Madeline.
Madeline.
Yeah.
I wrote
But
that.
Madeline doesn't write. Well, I suppose.
We'll have to get after her.
This was in August of '84. You wrote this.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what 8/20/84.
Okay. That's when I first.
Did you ever hear back from her?
Sure.
Oh, you have.
I have.
He hears more from her than I do. You must tell her more or something. Well, anyway.
These are quite the pictures.
That really is a picture.
Yeah.
This is a picture I like too.
Oh, I like this too.
Yeah.
Of the girls? Yeah.
Of the.
Yeah.
Look at Aunt Agnes with her foxy blouse.
Yeah.
I said she was different.
Yeah.
Oh, but she was a great.
But when I look at those ladies there, I think those look like workers.
Well, you bet you're cooking.
Cooking would make a good friend.
Except I think Aunt Barbara was a little lazy.
Oh, really?
She never kept house like the others did.
Oh.
She was a little bit more, well, shall I say, a little bit sloppy.
Oh, really? The question he's got.
And
But if you just look at Aunt Rosie, she is such a nice looking person.
oh, she's got a kind face.
She looks an awful lot like my grandma up there in the upper left-hand corner. I think. They look a lot.
Yeah, she does.
Now here it says that Aunt Annie and Aunt Katie were born on the 4th of January. Remember, everybody always said they were born on the Feast of the Epiphany.
That's wrong.
You had 1/6/72.
Well, some of that's my writing and some is people that had that written before. What is it?
Well, I always remember Aunt Annie always saying she was born on the Feast of the Epiphany.
That's the 6th?
That's
the 6th. I think that is correct.
Oh, here I've got Annie Casper, 1/6.
Yeah, 1/6. Yeah, see here 1/4. And Katie.
Yeah. I don't know.
Where's that
It's always fun to look for those things, isn't it?
Oh, that's how you're related to the Kwasniewskas.
Yeah.
Really by marriage, but not blood.
Well, Aunt Barbara was...
I know, but,
Well, we certainly are.
well, yeah, now, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Aunt Barbara was my dad's sister.
yeah, I know.
You see, I don't have those names down on my picture, and I should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in years to come, you won't look at it.
Grandpa was 64 when he died, huh?
My father.
Yeah.
He was born in 65.
Yeah. And Grandma was born when?
February 7th. What? 72?
72?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Oh, no.
Huh?
Oh, I guess I must have, probably I'm the one that's getting these things mixed up. No, it says here she's born January 6th.
Mm-hmm. So this is wrong.
Yeah, but she died.
She died, Aunt Katie,
Died January 4th.
January 4th, 1931.
Mm-hmm.
But she was born on January 6th.
Yeah. I've got it right on here. When she born and died.
Huh, that's a pretty good picture.
But I think that's a poor picture of Aunt Katie. I don't like that one. Do you?
Well,
What picture is that?
Oh, this is of Aunt Katie. Here's another. That's a little bit nicer, but
this is nicer.
yeah.
This one's nicer.
She's sure, but you can certainly tell that she's, yeah. Isn't it funny? They didn't have any money and yet they always had pictures.
That's what I think too. They always were taking pictures.
Yeah.
Not my.
Do you recognize those people?
Well, there's Aunt Katie, and is that Jane?
Uh huh.
Is that Agnes?
Helen. That's Helen.
Oh, and who's this?
That's Agnes Arp.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you could have another light on.
But there's such a poor light there.
Oh, Mother, let's buy some light bulbs. Yeah, that really helps.
Father Jim has always said that, but he has not done it yet.
Put it on your list.
Does that look?
I
I think the writing on behind is not mine. It's by someone else.
can't see it. Oh, right.
Maybe it is mine.
What is it? Well, you
Yeah, that's what it. Oh, I left or
What
right.
was the grandmother's maiden name? Who was she?
Kubista.
Now that should be written there too. Mrs. John Wrench, and that's, you know, should be,
No, I take this and I'll put
it
it back.
could be, should be Kabista.
Yeah, she
What was her name?
Annie.
Annie?
No.
Huh?
You mean your?
Catherine.
Mrs. John Wrench.
Yeah.
Mrs. John
Catherine?
Richard.
Mm.
Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that Annie was wrong. But she was a
Oh,
Kubista.
this is more of these.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You recognize that signature there?
Oh my, I saw this before.
Yeah.
How would I ever know? The Johann I would know, that one. But this one I wouldn't.
But this is the same signature that your grandpa makes on his service records. military service. Now, they tell me that we're supposed to say in Czech, we don't say Johann, we say Hansa. Did you ever hear him called Hansa?
Johann is German.
Yeah, Johann would be German, wouldn't it? But this is,
John.
but Roman says that it's Hansa, is what you're supposed to say.
This word is Hansa.
That's what they said. That's
Doesn't look like Hansa to me. But maybe this is an S. This one. Because
But he had a nice handwriting, didn't
Ah,
he? Didn't he?
very distinctive, I
Mhm.
think.
Now on these, when you've got Agnes, but like Mrs. Frank Casper, you should have Annie's.
I should.
You know, and Mary for,
I got a lot of improvement there, isn't it?
yeah.
Sure is.
And Aunt Katie's the only one who didn't marry.
Well, the one that survived, yeah.
Francis.
The ones that, like,
There were others that died?
No.
Anton died before he was,
Yeah, of the boys.
yeah.
Yeah, because it said he had TB.
He got TB when he went out for a dance.
The
That's just their thing.
But you know, he lived a long time, the grandpa. He was 80 years old.
Sure.
That's unusual in that day and age. Look at all his medals.
we're trying to identify those medals. Supposed to have my nephew working on that. I can't find any kind of record in the courthouse, the library here that had books enough to show a Civil War veterans medals.
And it didn't show any of these.
To know where he was or what he, to signify that, although we know where he was.
In Richmond.
He was on this march between Richmond and,
Atlanta?
no, another town, but
Yeah.
10 days after he enlisted, then we signed the Treaty of Appomattox.
Oh.
So he didn't get
He wasn't in very long. I hope he got all his $300, or what was he paid?
$300.
300?
300. Oh, yes.
Well, when we went to Gettysburg and, took that tour, and I could just see Grandpa coming up over the hill.
Because we had the first Minnesota.
Yeah, and Minnesota regiment turned the tide of the war. And I came home and I was so
heaviest casualties of any unit.
Yeah, and I came home and I was so excited, and Mom said he wasn't at Gettysburg, he was at Richmond.
Yeah, he was at Richmond. Well, he was on his way.
Yeah.
No, but when the Battle of Gettysburg was being fought, he was back in the old country yet.
Yeah.
Because they didn't come here till sometime in 62 or 63.
And then he just really went pretty soon after that.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. He homesteaded October 10th, 1863.
And when did he go into service then?
In 1865,
So they were only here a couple of years, and then he went.
very well, less over a year.
Yeah.
And so we're wondering, I can't imagine he had command of the English language. So where would they put him? That's why they said that he was a cook. And a man of that age, you see what age he would be? He would be like 40.
40. Yeah, because he was born in 25.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see, I suppose he didn't really have to go to war, but he went to make that $300.
To make that money.
Mm-hmm. And so he had homesteaded out there in October 10th, 1863. And so this is when he moved the family back in to the Kubitschek farm where the
By ZCBJ.
no.
Cemetery.
No, over here between Pratt and...
You mean the
I thought-
Bohemian Cemetery? Is that?
I thought that's where they lived. when the Indians came?
No.
When
they
Grandpa
lived-
was
they lived
gone to
over here
war.
between Pratt and Owatonna.
Well, when did they live by ZCBJ Cemetery?
Oh, where, you're confusing us.
They
That's a
never
Bohemian-
lived- they never
Bohemian-
lived
Okay, you
there.
call it ZCBJ Cemetery, okay.
Okay.
They never
Yeah, but
lived.
that's
I
right.
thought you said
South of-
they lived there.
Yeah, south, isn't it, where we stop where this, Kubitschek lives?
Yeah.
Well,
Is it-
that's by ZCBJ?
It's farther on.
By the cemetery, but it's south of the cemetery.
Well, southeast.
It isn't over on 218.
No.
It's
no.
on the Austin Road.
It's on the Austin
Yeah.
Road, but not by the cemetery.
Yeah, but south of the cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What is the Kubitschek? Is it Bruce?
No.
Paul.
Paul. He married the Krause girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we stopped there.
Yeah, she's lots of fun.
Yeah.
Paul's good looking.
When is he?
Oh, yes.
I've never
Pretty
met,
gray hair.
Oh,
I've never met Paul.
Yeah,
well, she's nice looking too.
He's a real nice look. He's much better looking than Gilbert and Don.
They're sleepy looking.
Yeah, but Paul is Paul is real sharp featured.
So now what is the story there when Grandma was staying?
Well, I want to know, when did the war end? What month?
60. Oh,
Well, Appomattox was signed April of 1865.
You see, well then my father was born shortly after he came back from war. Or was he still not?
Well, I think I've got the discharge papers. He was discharged, I believe, in July.
Well, my father was born June 5th, 65.
So apparently, your
he
grandfather.
couldn't have been gone very long.
No, the grandfather, your grandpa was not home when your father was born.
No, he wasn't.
But now, while they were gone, while Grandpa was gone, and Grandma moved back to the Paul Kubitschek, where Paul Kubitschek lives now. And then there was a little story there that we could tell about, isn't there?
About the Indians coming.
Oh, that's where the Indians came.
When Grandma was baking?
Yeah, she was
Baking
baking the bread. And she gave it to him. I gave it all.
And she made the kids hide under the bed.
Yeah. Kids used to do that.
When
When they
strangers came.
They hid under the bed.
But didn't Indians used to take kids?
Well, I suppose she heard lots of stories.
Yeah.
Scared to death.
Uh-huh.
They drove up and each had a horse. They rode horseback.
Yeah. So she gave them all the bread.
Yep. But they had to wait till it was done because she said it isn't done and you can't eat it. And she told me.
Yeah, I wonder how she could converse with them.
I don't know. Maybe she just opened the oven and poked her finger in it and said that no.
Mhm, yeah. Well, they could understand that.
Yeah. See?
Isn't it so?
Well, it was. What else was I going to? Oh, tell Jean about something that I didn't know that my grandfather. He owned that. What is it?
Arnold Hotel.
Arnold Hotel.
Grandpa Wrenchen?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. In his
My
obituary.
grandpa.
Yeah.
In the obituary, when we got this, like several months ago, it said he was a hotel keeper. And Edith says, hotel keeper? How can they figure
Never heard of that.
Never heard that he was a hotel keeper. So
Where is that obituary?
Where is the obituary?
I wonder which file.
It's in his file. If you dig, it's the very first one there.
First one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find his
It
obituary.
says he was a hotel keeper?
Well, it's in his death certificate that it calls in that. It doesn't say it in the obituary of the paper.
Oh.
But,
Yes, but he was more than
but
that.
in the list of his items of his real estate, where they list all the real estate, sure, he owns the hotel, Arnold Hotel.
How much did he pay for it?
Uh,
$3,500?
he paid Yeah, he paid $3,500 for it. I'll probably find where it is here. He paid $3,500 for it, and he traded his 120 acres out in Summit's
Are you
township.
listening?
Yeah.
And he got $6,000 for that 120 acres, and he bought this, and he traded with the people. Louie and Amelia Meixner bought this farm, and he bought the hotel from them.
And that's the
And
farm.
so, going through these things like his inventory, so then he has notes from those people.
Huh, yeah,
That's
to
where
make up- to
Teresa
make-
Casper lives. That's the farm.
by Allendale.
Uh-huh.
Who's Mrs. John Thomas? That's not right.
Yes, it is.
You've got that circled?
But
Yeah,
why they chose Thomas for that, I don't know. Did you ever find out?
not really. When I talked to Martha Summers, no, she says, that's wrong. She said, they never called him Thomas.
Oh, yes.
Who is that?
Korsnishka.
She's
Martha
She-
Summers
she
is
was-
our second cousin, you know, the garbage people.
Oh, yeah?
That's our
sure.
second cousin.
She's
And when I talked to her,
Gordy's mother
Yeah.
is my second cousin.
Why is it Thomas here? That's what I don't understand.
Well-
I don't know where that name came from, but I used to call him Uncle Thomas. My dad.
Well, maybe it's Mrs. John Thomas something. They forgot a name. They forgot the last name. You know, papers are known to make mistakes.
this was your mom's first victory in helping me, because this was out at Joe Wrench's 60th wedding anniversary,
Yeah.
and I had some of this stuff there with me, and I was trying to find out. I said, who in the world is Barbara Thomas? On the picture, I don't have any picture of Barbara Thomas. And she said, I don't know either. And then Helen came over and she says, Edith remembers who Thomas is.
Yeah,
That's Korsnishka. They used to call him Thomas.
Uh-huh.
And
Maybe
Gene?
she
now,
wanted,
this,
they wanted to...
now, this is from his last probate. If you look at the bottom down there, there are the list of the survivors who inherited money or inherited
Barbara
property.
Thomas.
So
Maybe he thought that was easier than Ms. Kwajniczka.
that's probably what we
See,
think.
Matthews changed their names. It used to be Matjeju,
Oh,
Matejeeau or something, you know, Bohemian.
oh,
Thank heavens they changed it to Matthews.
Well, these Schultzes too.
Oh, yeah?
Their name is something.
and your mother used to tell me that, like, her father got $1 and
Yeah?
the boys got $1. But what does it say there?
3.
I think it says there that they got $3. So the
And your dad never went and got his.
But Uncle John did.
But if that's really true, Gene,
Yeah?
I don't know if I keep repeating myself, but they have all these probates. They're all stored away, you know, from way, way, way back. If you want to go through that, you could find out if he collected his $1 or not, or $3.
Yeah.
I mean, it would show
Would
that
have to be, would that
everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. Of course, I had no really reason to get any more than what I got
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
It was just, you know, the interesting parts about the names and addresses and,
Oh, and she signed with an X.
yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
grandma,
Yeah,
our great grandma.
yeah.
Well, she couldn't talk English.
But she couldn't write her name either.
Mm-mm.
Well, it doesn't say here that they only got it $3, does it?
It does. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess,
I guess you
I'm sorry, Gene, I've got the paper that says that.
there.
To my grands, oh, and you remember
Well,
that,
that's the will. See, this is the probate.
yeah, okay,
Let me see.
yeah.
And Agnes got 1,000. Oh, and Mary got 1,000.
The girls all got 1,000. But as whatchamacallit said, the boys must have gotten something. Maybe they got, when they bought their farms, and maybe got their money right then.
I'll bet maybe the boys got more than the girls did, really. To start the boys out farming.
Yeah.
It was tradition for the boys to get more.
Because my father and mother started, when they were married, they moved right on their farm.
And so they had to get money from somewhere, didn't they?
And they had to build a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, $3. Well, how come these Wenzels got money?
Now that's Aunt Frances. No, Aunt Frances is the...
Where's your picture of that?
Aunt Frances is the one that died in childbirth.
Oh, and so he remembered them, the kids.
You see that there are 3 grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
and old Fred himself. Now Fred is the one that was it Fred? No, Uncle Vince.
Oh, Vince.
Yeah.
He was a good for nothing.
This is old Vince, and this is our grandpa. Now,
Yeah.
the stories are that Grandpa John J. did not like old Vince.
Oh.
And if you with a magnifying glass, you can see old Vince is back there smoking a cigar in his hand, and then you put it on there.
Ah.
And when Aunt Frances died,
See, he didn't want Vince to have it. The money.
well, I don't know. He was very fair that he gave Vince some money anyway.
Oh, he gave him some money?
Sure. And he gave the grandchildren,
But you see-
money. But when Aunt Frances died, then old Vince, he didn't want to put a stone up, and he didn't want to give it like at the time that she died, and so it ended up that her stone does not say Wenzel in the cemetery. It says Rinchen.
So on her gravestone out of Little Mitchell, it is.
Oh, he got $3.
Oh, he got the $3.
Yeah, and to my grandson Vincent Wenzel, 100, and my grandson Ferdinand Wenzel, 150. My granddaughter Anna, 150. Huh.
Now, to start us out,
Now where do you want to put this so you don't get mixed up?
No, just lay it over here. We won't.
That's the will and testament.
Okay. That stone out there, your mom wasn't able to tell us where she was buried, but there were, like,
I didn't know.
Roman knew.
Well, I suppose they did, you know.
Where is Gladstone, North Dakota?
I don't know.
Wonder where that is
Oh,
from Bismarck.
Well, that's where they're living now.
See, this is the stone that,
Oh my gosh.
this is the stone out there at Little Missile that Roman, well, we determined that this is, we knew where Anton was buried, and so they're buried one next to another.
Uh-huh.
And so, on her stone, they put F, Francis, and this is the way they spelled Rinchen in those days.
Oh.
And it's impossible to read it otherwise except with something like this.
Huh. Well, you're quite the kid. God darn it. Well, here it says he was born in 1823,
Would you like to go into that now?
December 8th.
Would you like to go into that?
Yeah, why did some say
I changed it to
1825?
1825. It says 1823 on his stone out in
Yeah.
Sacred Heart.
Does it?
Uh-huh. 1823.
That's what it says here too, but
Yeah.
why are you changing it to 825?
Because that's what it's supposed to be.
Why?
Well,
I don't remember how all this goes.
well, when my Aunt Jane,
Aunt Jane.
went to Czechoslovakia, she went 3 times,
Yeah.
and we've got her notes, and she says, Aunt Katie was wrong.
And Katie had it 23.
Yeah, and she
Oh.
says, Aunt Katie was wrong, I saw it with my own eyes, and the priest saw it with his eyes.
Yeah.
She writes in her notes that he was born in 1825. And according to his Army records, he's not born in 1823. You've got his records there. It takes a little digging to find that. So we changed his birthday.
Well, it's just like Grandpa Habiger. There was a dispute of whether he died when he was 100 or 99.
Oh.
And he always said he was 99 and everybody else said he was 100. And so when he died, they just thought, well, what's the difference? So they let him be at 99. Because he always said he was 99.
It really has no real significance, I suppose.
No, except that you
it's
just
just for those people that like to dig around and change things and.
Grandpa never milked a cow. This was woman's work.
That's what?
Women's work.
When the children were born, and before the girls were old enough the older girls were old enough to milk a cow, then Grandpa would bring the cow up to the cabin door, and Grandma would milk it the same day that the baby was born. Now that's the story my grandma told.
I wouldn't doubt it a bit.
Because he never milked a cow up here up on Cedar Street.
Heavens, no.
That was woman's work.
Oh, but that Aunt Katie kept that cow so beautifully clean. She bathed it about every day.
And here are the records in the abstract.
I tell you. Well.
Now what we were doing today is we have this second cousin once removed in Wisconsin. She wanted to know if I would make a tape with your mom to tell about anything that she'd know about Rosie, because they don't really have an awful lot of information about Rosie. So you haven't.
Well, definitely, I don't know when they left Boyd. And when they left Boyd, they went west. And that's when they picked cherries and peaches and whatnot. And that's where Edith married.
Oh, Alice is buried out in the Bohemian Cemetery? Alice Casper?
Yeah.
Pearson?
Pearson.
Oh, I didn't know that. Gee, they had two girls die young.
Yeah.
Irene and Anne. I didn't know that either.
Anne was the baby of the
5 years old. Where is she buried? Out there too?
Oh, out at the Bohemian Cemetery.
My father.
I don't know what was the. Did you ever hear what was the matter with Irene?
I really don't know. But we could look it up if we ever wanted to, in this courthouse.
I really don't know either. I know she's sick an awful long time.
It says John served in the Civil War and was crippled.
Well, he had some growths on the back of his neck, or back of his back, or whatever.
Well, you're reading.
It says John served in the Civil War and was crippled.
Well, now this. Okay.
In 1895, he built a home on Cedar Street. Retired and got a pension.
Did you ever put down what was the pension?
I think when we looked through his Army
$12.
records.
$12 a month?
Yeah.
Well, that's from Lucille.
Lucille Howell. That's when we got that, when we were over at Walter Casper's that time. Walter Rations. And that's what I copied out of the courthouse book.
I can't understand how Lucille happened. Lucille, what you call it?
Chronic gastritis. Is that like ulcers?
What?
Chronic gastritis. That's what he died from.
That sounds
Stomach trouble.
Yeah, I suppose ulcers maybe.
Oh, maybe ulcers.